And talking about the number of total infection around the world from coronavirus, we know that number one in the world is the US in terms of having highest infected case. But the number two, the case has been keeping rising is in Brazil, in Latin America. And right now we have Khun Nat Bunak joining us. Khun Nat, so really what happened in Brazil? The case has been rising up very sharply.
It has increased very sharply every day, and as you can see in the statistics, the daily statistics, the US is number one, Brazil is actually number two. And over the weekend, we've also heard that Latin America has become the new epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. And as you can see on the screen right now is the latest statistics on the new infections as well as the total infections in Brazil here. So as you can see, they're standing at number two for both total infections as well as the new infections. So they're just behind the United States here. And it's not just Brazil that is experiencing the outbreak, but Latin America is experiencing new infections like every day.
But I think what is interesting is that it looks like the president of the country, Bolsonaro, and the governors of different states don't see eye to eye on how they should handle the pandemic, right? Because the president himself has been accused of downplaying the impact of the coronavirus. But the fact is that his country is now number two in the world in terms of infections. Yeah.
It's not really a good number two. Nobody wants to be at number one or number two or number three because it's the number of infections that are increasing every day here. And the president, Jair Bolsonaro, has been accused and has been seen as downplaying the situation and pretty much ignoring what is going on. It's pretty much like President Trump, who has previously downplayed the situation.
Yeah.
And recently, he actually appeared in this rally without wearing a mask on, except for the security people wearing masks all the time, or even his supporters were wearing masks. So you can see that it seems like he doesn't really care about what is going on, but it's just only the way he appears in the media.
That's right. And he made a very controversial statement recently when he said, well, I know that people are dying, but more will be dying if the country is not, out of this shutdown. So, and he said that the economy is also probably more important as people's life. So this is kind of a statement that certainly makes him at odds with a lot of people in the country.
Exactly, but there's something that President Bolsonaro and President Trump have in common.
Yeah.
Was it?
You mean it's very laid back? But President Trump seemed quite clear that he would like to ban travelers from Brazil to enter the US.
Yes, so the new infections that are increasing every day in Brazil is the main reason why the White House has imposed travel restrictions on foreigners who have been to Brazil in the last 14 days. So that means if you're not an American and you've been to Brazil in the last 14 days, you're not allowed to enter the States. So this travel ban will be effective from the 28th of May. And this is not the first time that the US has banned foreigners from especially from countries that were epicenters of the outbreak, such as China, Iran, the European Schengen area, and the UK. They're all banned from the US because they were the main hotspots of COVID-19. And the main reason here is that the issue of imported cases of COVID-19 is the big issue for every single country around the world. So the US is banning all the foreign travelers from those countries to prevent this.
Yeah. Now the figures we just saw on the screen in Brazil have been questioned by a number of critics in the country. They believe that the actual figures could be even much higher than what have been officially reported. So let's find out later what the real situation there is. Yeah.
And especially in Latin America, where some of the countries lack testing. So it's a big possibility that the numbers here might be much higher. And in Brazil, there are rural areas that are lacking in testing. So it is possible that the number of infections are much higher than what we're seeing right now.
And what about reaction from Brazil after the President Trump has ordered people who've been through Brazil not to enter the US? What's the reaction from them?
I'm pretty sure people are not so happy about it. But there was one interesting response from Felipe Martins, who advises President Bolsonaro on international affairs. He thinks that the news media were overplaying Trump's ban because it's just a temporary ban. And he felt that there's nothing specific against Brazil here. So just ignore the overplaying of the press.
Now, if you know Trump, you wouldn't be surprised by what he just did with Brazil, because he would do whatever he could to divert all the blame that would be directed against him. So Brazil probably is another scapegoat for him.
Yeah, but both presidents from both countries have in common is that they believe that anti-malarial drugs can ward off COVID-19, which has not even been proven that it can really protect us from COVID-19 here.
Yeah, that's why the drug has become very controversial. But President Trump said he would want to stop using it probably last week.
Yeah.